Yo, what is up, guys? Razor here, and today is August 25th, 2021. It's about 1 week to Raiden's release, and I thought I'd figure, let's make a bunch of Raiden guides to rake in on the YouTube ad revenue and basically show you guys how well you guys can build your own, the proper way to build Raiden Shogun prior to her release. So this is going to be one of the first of many guides that we're going to do regarding Raiden Shogun. So if you guys enjoyed the content, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Really helps me out and helps me put out a lot more Raiden, Shogun, Sara, and Kokomi videos that you guys do enjoy. So the purpose of this video is that we're going to basically talk about my own personal stat guide and artifact guide that you guys should be mainly aiming towards for your own Raiden Shogun. I'm just going to compare my own build and ideally talk about what I found out regarding comparing certain artifact sets and main stats and substats and kind of doing all of the internal math. And again, for the purposes of this video, we are not going to be covering leaks, so we're not going to be covering very specifics. If something happens to very much coincide with a leak, it is pure coincidence, and I have no impact on it whatsoever. So please, MiHoYo, don't sue me. Dreamers be dreamers. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started into the guide. First of all, we have our crash dummy. Some character has to serve this role of being the stat dummy, and for the purposes of this video, that is going to be Amber. So stat-wise, my Raiden Shogun is going to be running roughly a decent amount of attack. Amber does get an attack percent ascension stat, so kind of muddles things up a bit. But we will be running around a 70 crit rate and 140 crit damage, which is pretty much golden ratio as far as damage dealers go, and a 245 energy recharge, not assuming a potential further increase due to an ascension stat. She could be like Mona and Venti, where they get an extra 32% energy recharge, which could boost us up to about 272. If that were the case, ideally, as a any sort of cheap to play player, you should be aiming ideally for 250 to 300, if that does, assuming that she does get a 32% additional energy recharge. If she does not happen to get an extra energy recharge bonus due to ascensions, then you're ideally gonna be wanting to be aiming for 200 to 250 energy recharge. That's pretty much gonna be like the golden ratio where you're gonna want to lie, essentially. And those are gonna be our stats, just so you have an idea of what exactly I'm running. Next, we're going to be running over the weapon, ideally just to show you guys to be fully transparent of what this build is fully made of. For the purposes of this, we're going to be running Elegy of the End, because I can pretty much almost guarantee that the Engulfing Lightning, which is going to be the weapon that shows up on her banner, we're pretty much going to be very, very similar. I assume, base attack, energy recharge is going to be pretty close. I don't really think it's going to correlate much to how the Skyward Spine and the Skyward Pride work. So, this is just purely a guess, and I have this is definitely not a leak. So, artifact guide, going into the meat and potatoes of this whole video, essentially, now they have all the other stuff out of the way. So, we have the artifacts, right? And, well, before going into the main stats and the substats, I wanted to talk about the set bonuses. And I wanted to give this full disclaimer. Set bonuses, please, please, please do not scuff your stats because you have a set bonus. Most of the time, it is generally not worth it. Please prioritize having a good crit rate to crit damage ratio before going into the artifact and good main stats as well, before going into the set bonuses. Generally, this is how this is going to work overall. So, I did a little bit of comparisons to Emblem and a lot of other different combinations between Thundering Fury and Noblesse and attack sets and all that jazz. But after doing a lot of internal discussion between me and a couple friends and among my Twitch chat, generally speaking, Emblem of Severed Fate tends to perform like a wide margin way better than every other set possible, because most of the time, if not almost all the time, you're pretty much going to be able to maximize the effect of the entire set and give yourself a huge damage bonus. And generally speaking, damage bonuses tend to outweigh every single other stat because characters lack in it, and there's no easy way to get it up unless, I guess, maybe Kazuha. But even Kazuha is just still not enough. So, yeah. Ideally, emblem set is what you're going to be looking for, but if you have really good pieces that are Thundering Fury or 4-piece Thunder Soother, feel free to run those as potential substitutes because those will perform pretty decently well, even to a well-built emblem set. Just keep in mind, this is assuming you have a really good emblem set, so that I know most people don't have, especially if you're cheap to play. So going first now into the main stats, so the hat, pretty much 99% of the time, you're going to be wanting to run a crit rate hat. Unless you're having to run a, Jade Spear or a Death Match, which should be like 1%, because those weapons aren't even going to be that good for Raiden Shogun, all things considered, because I'm mostly going to be either running the Catch, or the 5-star weapon, or the Spine. So, ideally, you're just going to run a rate. And speaking of substat on the hat, pretty much crit damage is their top priority, but seeing it attack percent and ER will not be bad. So if you have no crit damage but have ER and attack, keep it, invest in it. It's going to be okay, and then just swap it off later on when you have a good other crit rate hat, because this is generally going to be a domain that you're going to farm pretty often than not, so it's going to be still good to invest in. You'll eventually hopefully get the hat. Even then, I know this piece can be pretty much the biggest pain in the ass ever, excluding the cup on set, because God forbid getting that is hell in itself. But it took me 2 weeks with full refreshes, and this is the best hat I have, just to show you how hard it is farming a piece, this specific piece is. So again, crit rate hat, and if you have attack percent ER in it, feel free to keep it. I actually think I do have one of those. Yeah, like one of these. This piece would be fine in my opinion to run. It's not really the best hat in existence, but it is pretty okay, especially as a temporary piece. So again, crit damage ER is pretty much the god roll, so if you do have that, well, you're all set. Cup, okay, there's a lot of discussion going on specifically between the cup and the timepiece, and I wanted to really much discuss my own 2 cents on how these pieces are going to work. So there's been a lot of discussion about attack percent cup versus electro damage bonus cup, and pretty much I did a lot of the internal math regarding this, and generally speaking, if you have a 4-piece emblem set, attack cup performs worse than electro damage bonus cup, but generally speaking, if your attack cup is pretty nuts and you have emblem, I would run the attack cup over the electro just to keep yourself on set. If your other 4 pieces are good, then just run whatever broken electro cup you have. It doesn't really matter at that point. But for me, I cannot get a timepiece for the life of me, a good ER timepiece, so I will be running this attack cup, because generally speaking, if you're assuming you're running the Emblem of Severed Fate set, an attack percent cup is about 10% worse than the electro damage bonus cup. It's not that big of a difference, especially if you happen to run external attack buffers such as Bennett, such as Sara, such as Noblesse Oblige, such as Freedom Sworn through Kazuha. It's generally not as big of a concern as people think, so it's okay. It performs relatively okay. So if you have an attack cup on Emblem of Severed Fate, that's really good. Feel free to run it. If you have an attack cup but not run Emblem Severed Fate, please do not run it. It will not do you very good, even considering Raiden's passive. Generally, it's just too much of a loss to run versus an Electro Goblet. Just doing the math over this, a lot of theory crafting. And speaking of the timepiece, we are running an energy recharge timepiece, and there are some other videos on YouTube pretty much telling people to run an attack percent Sans, and this is, my opinion, really, really stupid. Because energy recharge also provides additional benefits, not only being very comparable to damage, but you're also getting faster charge on Raiden, so you can reliably hit burst, as well as charging up the other parts of your team, so you can get more reliable bursts on the other teams as well, filling that whole energy battery role. Pretty much the substats you're going to be looking for on these both pieces are, on both the cup and the timepiece, are pretty much going to be crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and ER. Oh, except on the timepiece, obviously, because you can't roll that. But those are pretty much the 4 pieces. Crit rate, crit damage are pretty much top priority, just like almost 90% of other characters in this game. So it really doesn't matter, because you really want to hit that ideal crit ratio so that you can get the most amount of damage out of Raiden Shogun when she comes out. So again, energy recharge timepiece. And then Flower and Feather obviously fixed main stats, so you can't do much about those. But I'm going to be going into a little bit more about the substats of these because I think it's really important to bring this up. Crit rate and crit damage, you pretty much want both these stats on these pieces unless your Flower's an insanely cracked like this, which happened to roll 18% crit rate, which is a god tier piece pretty much. If you can roll that, you're pretty much set. Ideally, you want crit rate over crit damage in the slot because you're most likely going to be lacking crit rate. So even if this rolled like 40% crit damage, it'd still be kind of iffy if I didn't have any rate to make up for it. So ideally, you're going to be looking for rate over damage even then. 10% rate to 20% crit damage is going to be a god tier. You wouldn't want to go any better than that. And any better than that's just, you know, insane. But generally speaking, crit rate, crit damage, ER is pretty much the 3 stats you're looking for. Attack percent is not as important, but, you know, if you get it, it's going to be pretty solid nonetheless. So, yeah, that's going to be the build. If you again, set-wise, you're pretty much ideally want to run Emblem of Severed Fate. However, you can also feel free to run other pieces as long as you have the good substats to form it. If you don't have a good Emblem of Severed Fate, again, some of the best the best option would be a 2-piece Noblesse Oblige and 2-piece Emblem of Severed Fate. That is the second best. Then 2-piece Emblem, 2-piece Thundering Fury, and then finally 2-piece Thundering Fury, 2-piece Noblesse is pretty much the way you're going to run with Raiden Shogun if you don't happen to have a good substat ratio on Emblem. And please, 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 again, for the life of you, please, guys, do not run Emblem and have terrible substats just because it's on set. It's just not going to do you any good. And yeah, that's going to be the video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, again, like, comment, sub. Really helps me out. I do plan on posting more Raiden content regarding weapon choices and maybe a tier list on that, as well as team building options and generally should you pull evaluations of our kit. So again, hope to see you guys in the next video, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.